All right, guys, how's it going? Back with another YouTube video today. I am just going to be going over all the week one games, kind of just breaking them down, talking through them, giving you guys my thought process, how I interpreted the games, and yeah, just pretty much recapping the week as I saw it at least. So, jump right in here. First game, obviously the opener last Thursday, we had Ravens Chiefs. By the way, did pretty good in my pick'em league. Finished 13-3, so pretty solid pick week for me. Just had to get that out there. But Ravens Chiefs, pretty good game, pretty good opener, really exciting ending. I cannot stand the Chiefs, absolutely despise them. Hate the Ravens too, but I absolutely despise the Chiefs. But I was pulling for the Ravens in this one because I just hate the Chiefs so much, hate them so much. Really wish Isaiah Likely could have gotten into the end zone that last play. They would have gone for two. Who knows what would have happened? But really good game. Really good game. Ravens missed a lot of opportunities in this one, which kind of sucks. Because I hate the Chiefs. Did I mention that, by the way? I hate the Chiefs. But yeah, pretty good game. Ravens, their offense looked up and down, but pretty good for the most part. See, they actually had over 450 yards of offense. See, that's a little surprising to me. It seems like the way this game played out in real time, the Chiefs at the half they were up six. They should have been up. It felt like they were up two scores to me instead of up six. Um, Third quarter, Chiefs came out, scored a touchdown. Ravens didn't score it all in the third. Yeah, so it was 20-10 entering the fourth, and I think the first play of the first can't talk. First play of the fourth quarter, Lamar hit Isaiah Likely on that insane touchdown pass. Chiefs ended up getting a touchdown after that. Ravens ended up getting a field goal. Chiefs ended up having to punt. Then that was I think it was like a 90-yard drive. The Ravens went down the field. They didn't score. Um, Again, unfortunately, so close to the Likely. I was so happy. Thought he got a touchdown at first. Lamar missed Zay Flowers wide open. That sucked. That really sucked. Oh, that would he was on one of I would have lost anyway. But Flowers is on, I think, two of my fantasy teams do. That's probably why I missed him wide open in the end zone. Derrick Henry didn't really get much going. The Ravens' offensive line, a lot of trouble blocking. Mark Andrews started him over Isaiah Likely in one of my leagues, so that was a great decision by me. Thank God I ended up winning that league anyway. But they used Mark Andrews as a blocker a lot to help with the offensive line because it was so bad. A lot of illegal formations on the Ravens offensive line, especially the first drive or the first two drives rather with Ronnie Stanley. They called that poor guy so many times. I guess they're really enforcing that rule. But pretty good opener, really fun opener. Chiefs to the Chiefs. They didn't even. I don't even feel like they played a very what's the word? I don't know. Complete game is the phrase I'm looking for. I don't know, it just seems like they didn't play their best game. Neither did the Ravens, which it's week one football. It's kind of expected. Pretty good game, pretty exciting game. Hopefully, we can end up see these two teams match up in the playoffs again. And yeah, pretty good game. Glad the Ravens actually attempted to run the ball, unlike the AFC Championship, though. Let's see here. Next game, Packers, Eagles in Brazil. This was a really weird game for me. Big part of it is because the field was so horrible. The conditions, the players are slipping left and right. The field just looked awful. Very, you know, again, week one football, a lot of sluggish play by each team. Defenses look good at times, offenses look good at times. Okay, both offenses were unstoppable for most of the game. Looks like both defenses were really getting in gear most of the, or not most of the game, but at points of the game. Packers are really struggling to run the ball with Josh Jacobs. They got him going the end of the third quarter. In the fourth quarter there, Hurts was off to a miserable start. He had the pick on that deep throw when he was backed up in his end zone. I think it was second and 15. And then he had the fumble with the missed snap. What else about this game? Oh yeah, obviously Jordan Love got hurt. Hopefully he's okay. He's supposed to miss a couple weeks, which that's a big blow for the Packers, but I'll talk about that later. I'm gonna make another video, my week 2 picks. I'll talk about Packers Colts, talk about that situation a bit more. But yeah, both offenses were clicking in gear. You know, uh, pretty even on the yards. Packers with 4 more yards, pretty close to the passing yards, rushing yards pretty close. Yards per play, Packers about a yard and a half more per play. It was a pretty even game. I think the big difference was that the drive at the end of the game the Eagles had where they took up a bunch of clock. I think it was like a 7-8 minute drive where they took up all the clock pretty much. They kicked the field goal to go up 6 with like 20 seconds left. Obviously, especially with the Packers being out of timeouts, there's not much you can do in that situation. They had that nice rollout play with Love that looked exactly like Aaron Rodgers, the play he had against the Cardinals in the divisional round in 2015. That was cool. But yeah, really good game. Really sloppy, a lot of tripping, a lot of blown coverages, a lot of missed tackles. Typical week 1 football, but pretty good game. I enjoyed that one. Next game. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah. Where do I start on this one? I feel so bad for Panthers fans. They were the worst team in the league last year. There's optimism going into this year, and you lose 10-47 week 1. I just miserable game for the Panthers. Pretty much nothing went their way this one. Saints looked like they're going 17-0 based off of this game. Their offensive line was a big question mark going into the year. It held up. Their offense is obviously very efficient. They put up 47 points. Derek Carr, 19-23 for 203 touchdowns. Talk about efficient. That's absolutely insane. Bryce Young, oh boy. Obviously a horrible game for Bryce Young. His first pass was picked. He had another interception that was pretty bad. They just struggled to get anything offensively, and they downgraded their defense to upgrade the offense for Bryce Young, and they put up 10 points. And the touchdown they got, Bryce Young had to very much improvise on it. He had the Juka DB out. It was like a very improvised touchdown. They were lucky to even get that one touchdown. They just got absolutely steamrolled off the field. That was just absolutely horrible. I honestly, going forward, I think whatever team is playing the Panthers, I might be picking them in my survivor pool. That wouldn't be a bad strategy, honestly. I expected the Panthers. I'm not gonna again base too much off of week 1. It's just one game and it's week 1. I don't want to base too much off of it, but I didn't think the Panthers are going to be a very good team this year, but if this is a sign of what they're going to be like all year, oh boy, I think they'll be right in the number 1 pick position again, which they weren't. They didn't even get it last year because they had the trade with the Bears for it. Just an awful game all around for the Panthers. I just feel bad for them and their fans. Just a horrible game for the Panthers. Just embarrassing. Oh God, awful for the Panthers. Saints look good though, obviously. Good for Derek Carr. Glad that team got a really good team win. They've been stuck in mediocrity, so hopefully they have a good year. I don't mind the Saints. They're a pretty respectable team, even though they can kind of be dirty at times, especially when Tom Brady was on the Bucs, but that's okay. Tore Chris Godwin's ACL in 2021, or else Tom Brady would have repeated, or Todd Bowles and it's in a zero blitz at the end of the game there when the Rams had no timeouts, but that's okay. We won't talk about that. Oh, what's the next game? Oh boy. Speaking of bad performances. Oh boy. Giants. Obviously another bad performance. Danny Dimes. Oh boy. Two picks, 50% completion. Actually, just over 50% completion percentage. Not good. Sam Darnold looked like he's the best quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Vikings look like going to the Super Bowl after this game. It looks like them and the Saints are Super Bowl contenders after their games. Just absolute domination by the Vikings. Again, if you guys watch my picks video, I had the Giants winning this game originally. And then I switched to the Vikings. I was saying in the video, I'm going to be so upset if the Giants win this game. And I know they're going to, that I switched my pick. And I'm watching Red Zone. And the first thing I see for this game, oh, the Giants have the ball in Vikings territory after a fumble. Let's show you what happened. I'm like, of course they do. They got a field goal, and then the Vikings outscored them 28-3. Oh, that's a pretty good metric for my memory. Pats fan here. You guys know what I'm talking about. But they outscored them 28-3 the rest of the game. Sam Darnold, super efficient game. Really, really good. Yeah, just really, I talked about it in my videos I made so far, but love Kevin O'Connell. Super friendly quarterback system. If Sam Darnold can limit his turnovers, I think he could have a pretty good year. Brian Flores' defense can be really good, even though they're banged up defensively. Really like Brian Flores, especially as a New England fan. Just a really good game for the Vikings, an absolute shitter for the Giants. Although I think, watching the highlights back in this one, I think Malik Neighbors had a pretty, yeah. See, Malik Neighbors, that's a pretty good game. That's one bright spot. Wan'Dale Robinson had a pretty solid game. Pretty much nothing in the running game. That's another thing from the Eagles game. I don't even think I mentioned Saquon. Obviously, he went off. They were missing him this game. Yeah, pretty good day for Aaron Jones. Pretty just well-balanced day for the Vikings. Really solid performance. Good for the Vikings. I like the Vikings. Really like Kevin O'Connell. I'm rooting for those. Yes, here we go. Aha. My team pulled off the upset of the week. I could not believe we actually won this game. Oh my God. I still can't believe it. I am so happy we won. It's so nice to start off 1-0, especially since we haven't started off 1-0 since 2020 when we beat the Dolphins. That was all the way back the COVID year. Oh God, it feels good. Defense, really, really complete, solid all around, well balanced game. Offensively, Ramondre Stevenson was an absolute tank. The offensive line held up a lot better than I anticipated and thought it would. Brissett, if you just look at his stats, you're not going to think he played well, but he played a pretty solid game. A couple good rushes in there too. He really only had one bad pass where he lobbed up to Henry in the end zone. It was kind of a 50-50 ball. I thought it got picked, but thankfully it's just incomplete. Yeah, Bengals. I picked the Bengals to win the Super Bowl, and again, don't want to make too many assumptions or, base too much off of week one, but then they always start off slow. That's what I said. We could upset them because they start off slow. Higgins isn't going to be there. Chase looked like he might not have played going into the game. He ended up playing. But I said there is a scenario where we do upset them, though I don't have much faith that happens. It did, thankfully. But Bengals, they start off slow every year, first couple weeks, and they pick it up as the year goes on. But I mean, they have to win this game. I mean, at home, even without T. Higgins out there and Jamar with, limited practice, the whole contract situation going on, you got to win this game against us. Obviously, I love my team, but we're not expected to be a good team. We're should be one of the worst teams in the league this year. And you have to win this game at home. And I'm just not liking what's going on with the Bengals, especially after watching this game. There's the whole T. Higgins thing. He's hurt. He's franchise tag. He's unhappy. Jamar Chase, he played, but they list him with an illness, but he's not practicing his contract situation. Oh, God, it just seems like a mess. Bengals struggle to stop the run. It just seems like a mess in Cincy, and I picked them to win the friggin' Super Bowl. I wasn't even, too high on them, even though I picked them to win the Super Bowl. I picked them to be the 1 seed, and I'm not extremely high on them this year. It's just they had a really favorable schedule, in my opinion. And I think out of all the Joe Burrow years, with the exception of 2020, his first year when they were still kind of figuring things out with their roster and kind of were at the end of their rebuilding stage. I think this year is, so I guess a good way to phrase it is, out of the kind of elite Bengals, like legitimate contenders years, which is 2021 through now, I would say this is probably the worst squad. Can't talk. Squad. There we go. That Burrow and the Bengals have had. It's still really good. But they missed a couple guys, just a bunch of controversy. But this is probably the worst. I don't want to say worst squad because it doesn't make them sound like a horrible team, and they're not. But I don't know, just not the strongest squad compared to years past. Um, Burrow passing, they didn't really, just look at that, pretty, not horrible, pretty mid game, I guess, from him. You know, we, I think we thoroughly outplayed them most of this game. Yeah, we did get a lot of lucky things bounce our way. I will say that though. We had the Gesicki touchdown got overturned, which I wish Mike Gesicki could have done that when he was on the Patriots, but that's okay. That got overturned, and then the next play, we got the fumble recovery right as Hudson was about to go into the end zone there. Then we got that muffed punt. We were getting some lucky things to go our way, and so we got some lucky things to go our way. Bengals had the contract holdouts, injuries, and we won by only 6. So that could be a concern. Offense, I would have liked to see us score more touchdowns. We had a couple of times where a couple of 3-and-outs in opportune positions where we really could have put a stranglehold on, not a stranglehold, but really gave us what's the word I'm looking for? Cushion maybe, leverage on the lead. I'm blanking on the word, but you guys probably know what I mean. But yeah, really good game. Like the play calling. Would like to see the passing game get involved more. Really solid defensive game. Excited to see how we do week 2. Bengals play the Chiefs, so oh boy, that could. They did against us. That's going to be a problem for them. Next game, I picked the Falcons in this one, and I was kind of debating on picking Steelers. I went with the Falcons, and I said in my picks video, this is the type of game the Steelers win. Defensive, kind of ugly game, and that's exactly what this was. Steelers had 6 field goals. They didn't score a single touchdown. They won the game. They held the Falcons to 10. Kirk Cousins struggled. He did not look very good. The Falcons' offensive line looked like a mess. TJ Watt went absolutely berserk on them. He even had a fumble and a sack called back, and he still went berserk if you just look at the stat line on him. Steelers defense had a really good game. Shut the Falcons out in the second half. Yeah. This was, what I thought. A defensive kind of ugly game. Kirk Cousins, Falcons defense did play well. I mean, they held them to 6 field goals. They didn't allow a touchdown, so that's good for them. They stopped them, the Steelers. They stopped the Steelers on 4th and short. They went for the sneak late in the game, gave Kirk Cousins a chance to, or did they shot them? They shot them on a sneak, but it's either, I remember that, but maybe they forced a punt, but regardless, Kirk Cousins had a chance to drive down, take the lead late, probably win the game, and he threw a really bad pick. Rough game for Kirk Cousins to come back from. Hopefully, him and the Falcons get a groove. Steelers, their offense, this was typical Arthur Smith-led offense. A lot of running, kind of short passing. This is like a typical from Fields. This is a typical Arthur Smith game. Pretty high completion percentage, but not a lot of yardage. 20 carries. I didn't even realize Najee had that many. Yeah, just look at the stats here. I think the Steelers kind of thoroughly outplayed the Falcons, although it is close in a couple of categories here. But yeah, kind of what I expected, kicking myself for not picking the Steelers. Obviously, easy to say in hindsight, though. Texans Colts. This was a really good game. This was offensive shootout galore here. Really good game. Texans, kind of had control, especially late, and the Colts kept coming back. They had a two-score lead late. Colts scored. Then they had another two-score lead. Colts scored. Yeah. Richardson, again, he's still kind of his question marks, has a lot of potential. His first touchdown throw to Alec Pierce, that was one of the most insane throws I've ever seen in my entire life. That he was like fading away and launched the thing like 60 yards at pressure rate in his face. That was insane. Stroud and the offense looked really efficient. They had that confusing end to half sequence, the first half, where they they ran out of time, and instead of getting a field goal, the half ran out. So there was a miscommunication with the refs, and they reviewed a play, and it was just an absolute mess. So the Texans won this game, but if they didn't, that play would have been talked about a little, or not a little, a lot more. But really good game. Richardson had his up and down moments. Uh, he missed I want to say, I don't know if it was going to be a touchdown. I forget if it was a man in the end zone or someone wide open. But the next play, he threw a pick. If you see here, he completed 9 passes of 19. So not even a 50% completion percentage, but he had 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. So that's if you take the 9 of 19 away, the rest of the stat line here, that's a pretty good game. Stroud really efficient, well, just the way the stat line, really efficient. Mixon had 30 carries, which is absolutely insane. Richardson, pretty good game carrying the ball. I think the Texans outplayed the Colts pretty well in this one. That 3rd and 11, by the way, Colts scored late to make it a one-score game. The 3rd and 11, where the Texans would have punted, Colts would have had a chance to go on a game-winning drive. That I thought it was incomplete, and then Collins somehow came away with the ball. That was absolutely insane. Really good game. I can't wait for these teams to play again later in the year. Really high on the Texans. That offense is fun to watch. Really fun to watch. Colts definitely get a bright future too. Richardson's going to develop more, but they could be a really solid team again this year. What is the next game we got? Cardinals Bills. This is a pretty good game too. Cardinals, I think, are a sleeper team this year. They kind of played like maybe a little bit better than I expected them to. A lot of people thought this was going to be a blowout game. I thought this would be relatively close, maybe not this close. Cardinals had a chance to win the game at the end there. Cardinals got up to an early lead. Bills ended up coming back. The Cardinals first try that I think it was unnecessary roughness on Kyler was complete BS. I hate the Bills. I'm a Patriots fan, but that was a complete BS call. They ended up getting a touchdown on that. They would have kicked a field goal if they didn't throw that flag, which they shouldn't have. Yeah, Bills offense looked pretty good. I really like Joe Brady's play calling, a run first offense, getting the play action game going. I really like Joe Brady's offense. Josh Allen, really efficient passing day. He did have a fumble. How many yards? Allen had rushed a lot too. Let's see here. Yeah, 9 for 39, 2 touchdowns. James Cook, I needed him to get in the end zone from one of my parlays, but that's okay. Kyler had a pretty solid game. Marvin Harrison Jr. was pretty much nowhere to be seen. I think he only had like one catch. Kyler missed him late at the end of the game there. Could have taken the lead. Trey McBride also was very quiet in this game. I think he only had one catch too. Maybe two. Let's see. I gotta figure this out now. It's bothering me. Okay, I'm just kidding. Trey McBride caught 5 passes. Only 30 yards though. Yeah, Martin Harrison 1 for 4. Boy, he must have screwed a lot of people over in fantasy this week. But yeah, Bills play the Dolphins tomorrow on Thursday Night Football. That's going to be a really good game. Yeah, pretty good game. Cardinals defense looked good, then they kind of looked bad in the second half. Bills defense is kind of a concern. Cardinals offense looked pretty good, but again, so I'm talking about they got to get Harrison involved more. Yeah, really good game. Cardinals are a sleeper team this year. Bills had to win this one, and they did. They took care of business. Next game, oh boy. Titans Bears. Talk about a collapse. In my picks video, I went with the Bears, but I said I would not be surprised if the Titans won. I hit the Bears in one of my bonus parlays and ended up failing, but so I was rooting for the Bears, so I had the right pick and for my bonus parlays. And then when they were down 17-0, I was not, I didn't have much hope because the Bears offense was pretty much a disaster this game. And I mean, Caleb Williams, 14 of 29 for 93 yards, and Swift had 30 yards on 10 carries. How many? Yeah, they had not even 150 yards of offense, and they had 64 pass yards, 84 pressure. They had not even 3 yards per play, and they got 24 points. Granted, they got a touchdown off a block punt, and they got a pick six. So that's 14 right there. So they really only scored 10 offensive points. But yeah, Titans were up 17-0. Their offense was looking good. Their run game was good. Defense, well, the Titans defense played well the whole game pretty much. Titans get a sneaky good defense this year. The Titans offense completely collapsed the second half. Eberflus really, I think for most of the game too. Obviously, the second half they got shut out. Eberflus really knows how to coach that defense. They played really well the back half of the year. They were the top scoring defense in the league the last 8 games of last season. Looks like that carried over, at least into this week. They play the Texans next on a Sunday Night Football. That'll be a good game. But yeah, I mean, that's optimistic. If the offense did pretty much nothing and you put up 24 points and beat a pretty respectable team in the Titans. Yeah, I saw Brian Callahan, the Titans head coach, said they would have had a better chance winning the game if they just punted every possession in the second half. So obviously that's not a very good sign that you want to be talking about with your team there. But yeah, pretty good game. Good for the Bears. I like the Bears. Dolphins, Jag. This was a collapse. The Jags should have had this one. They outplayed the Dolphins. They really did. Should have won this game. If you just look at this, you think that the Dolphins outplayed them. But the Jags had control pretty much the whole game. They were up 7-0, then they were up 17-7 at half. And then they were about to be up 24-7, and Travis Etienne fumbled in the end zone. That was the changing point of the game right there. Dolphins next drive, Tyreek goes the entire field, scores a touchdown. And then the Jags on 4th and 1 in their own territory with a 3-point lead went for it, and they got stuffed. And the Dolphins, they missed field goal after that. The Jags didn't score anything in the second half. Doug Peterson kind of called a weird second half offensively. Dolphins ended up getting 2 field goals, one of them to win at the buzzer there. The Dolphins did not, typically under Mike McDaniel, his first 2 seasons, they come out firing offensively, especially last year. 2 years ago when they played us in the opener, they were kind of a little slow at first, and then they picked it up as the game went on. Last year, they came out lights out in the opener against the Chargers. I expected them to come out lights out. I expected the Jags kind of just play it close, but ended up losing. I did not expect the game to go like this. The Jags having a lead and kind of blowing it. Dolphins didn't play a very good game. They ended up beating the Jags, who were another serviceable team. And yeah, the whole Tyreek situation, that's absolutely crazy. I honestly think that probably motivated the team, if anything. Probably pissed them off that what happened to them. Yeah, this is a fun game. I like the Jags, but boy, that second half. I don't know what the hell happened there. That Etienne fumble just ruined the game. Everything. It's like the Jags last year, as soon as one thing went wrong for them on their losing streak, just everything collapsed after that. Pretty much the same thing in that one. Oh, here we go. Oh, wait, sorry, this is week 2. What am I looking at here? Broncos Seahawks. Let's talk about a weird game. And talk about teams coming out playing week 1 football. The Seahawks, so the Broncos scored 20, and they scored 2 safeties, and they got I think they got 2 field goals pretty much based off default field position. Geno's first pass was picked. So pretty much almost half the Broncos point. Actually, yeah, about half their points, 10 of them came off of Seahawks fundamental mistakes. The Broncos really only scored 10 points offensively from their own doing. If that's how I look at it, at least. Bo Nix, really, really conservative game. Sean Payton, interesting strategy with his play calling. A lot of short passes at the line of scrimmage, or very short past the line of scrimmage. Uh, Obviously did not have a very good game. Except I will say, late in that game when Bo Nix ended up leading that touchdown drive at the end, he looked pretty efficient on that drive. I would have liked to see what happened in the Seahawks and convert on that following series where they did 3rd and 11, then the Broncos were off sides, and then they had that pass to Lockett to ice the game. If Bo Nix should have got that ball back, that would have been interesting to see what happened there. Um, I saw someone was talking about this game. They said Bo Nix played horrible, but he played well when it in kind of crunch time situations when they had to score. That's a good way to put it if you want to be optimistic about Bo Nix. Um, Mike Macdonald defense played really, really well. As I did really only allowed 10 points by default. Half the points came from, the offense's mistakes. Um, Geno started off slow, then their offense picked it up, played pretty good after the slow start. Seahawks are a sleeper team this year. They could be a pretty solid team, maybe even sneak into the playoffs. That defense with Mike Macdonald is legit, and the Broncos not expected to be a good team. If you don't win this game with all that you got, you know, how do I word this? All that fell into your lap. If you don't win this game, two safeties, Geno misreading, throwing a bad pick, you had points off that. If you don't win a game when you get stuff like that to bounce your way, then what are the games you are going to win? And they're going to win. It's not like they're going to go all win 17, but not a great sign when you can't win a game and you get that much luck to bounce your way. What is the next? Oh, this was an interesting one. Raiders getting a lot of heat for their offense. I honestly don't think their offense played as bad as people were saying. A lot of people don't like Luke Getsy coming over from the Bears. I just think the Raiders need a top tier quarterback. Minshew's serviceable, but he's not going to win you the big games, playoff games. But he's serviceable. Just with a stat line, that's a pretty efficient game, honestly. Samir White, he had a couple of good spots. He had his fumble. It looked like he was supposed to turn it upfield, and the ball got punched out. Jakobi Meyers, mild guy, pretty good game. Yeah, the Chargers' offense did not look good for most of this game. Really, really struggled. I mean, they had 3 field goals going in the fourth quarter. How it's big talk about the Chargers, losing their receivers. Who's going to help Herbert? Pretty much no one for most of the game. Let's look at the receiving here Ladd McConkey, their rookie, led in receiving by a yard. Quentin Johnson actually had a nice play where he caught it and then turned upfield, dodged a tackle. That was a pretty nice play. Yeah, J.K. Dobbins had a really good game running the ball. Glad to see him healthy. Herbert looked okay. Again, he didn't really get much help. Chargers offense just did not look good most of this game, but they played well in the fourth. Obviously, that's when it matters most, and the money's in the middle of the table there. Raiders, Brock Bowers, pretty solid game, pretty good debut. Fonte, pretty good. Again, I don't think they only scored 10 points, but I don't think their offense played as bad as people say, or people are saying about it. They got stuffed on a lot of short yardage situations that really kind of screwed them over. They had a 4th and 1. I want to say at the Chargers, it was close to the 40-yard line, down late in the fourth, and Antonio Pierce punted. That was a really questionable move. And then Antonio Pierce said it was a long yard. Even so, you're in the fourth quarter. You got to trust your offense to pick up a yard and not play the field position game. and it's easy for me to say, especially in hindsight, because they lost the game. I'm not an NFL head coach, obviously. It's easy for me to say, but that was I like Antonio Pierce, but that was definitely a questionable move. Pretty good win for the Chargers. The Raiders defense looked good. Chargers defense looked really good. Pretty good divisional game to open the year for those guys. Last couple games here. Oh boy. This was a game in my picks video, I said I was pretty confident with the Browns, and boy, did that backfire on me. Cowboys completely dominated this game. Deshaun Watson, or as I call him, Massage Watson, looked absolutely horrible. He looked absolute. Oh God, he just looked like complete shit in this game. Yes, the Browns are missing some of their offensive linemen, and going against the Cowboys pass rush, that's going to be a problem. Obviously, they were missing Chubb, but they could not get anything going the entire game. Mike Zimmer, Cowboys defense, that could be a lethal combo all year. Really good game plan for Mike Zimmer coming in. Cowboys defense just dominated this game. Their offense is pretty good too. I don't even think the Cowboys offense had a great game. They didn't even have 300 yards. They had 265, but a really efficient game. Zeke actually looked pretty good. 10 for 40, 4 yards carry. That's pretty good. Dak, fairly efficient game. That touchdown he had to Cooks, that was a really good touchdown. Browns defense, you're going to look at the score. I think they played abysmal. Browns defense I think they played okay. Not as bad as the score suggests. Just the offense kept putting them in bad position. They were probably tired. The offense kept going 3-and-out, putting them in bad position. Cowboys got a touchdown on a punt return to end the first half, so that's obviously not on the defense. Browns are kind of concerned. I have them at 12-5, and a lot of questions about this team moving forward. Don't want to base too much off first week again, but yeah, just not a good showing for the Browns. Just Deshaun Watson has just been a complete mess since he signed with the Browns. He just really needs to get his act together. Oh boy. Speaking of the Browns and quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield looked like an MVP candidate. Really efficient game. Commanders, not a great showing, not a good showing. Jane Daniels actually pretty. Just looking at this, a pretty efficient day pass. Like this. Dan Quinn mentioned yesterday that he wants Shane Daniels to throw more rather than scramble. I mean, you can't have 16 carries and only complete 17 passes as a quarterback, especially when you lose the game. Obviously, win your game, you can, but when you lose in the game, I shouldn't have said that because a team like the Ravens or something, but it's just not ideal for your quarterback to carry the ball that many times, and especially when they only complete 17 passes. Yeah, Bucs offense under Liam Cohen, I had some questions about it. I thought Dave Canales was a pretty good offensive coordinator. A lot of Bucs fans did not like him, said they were holding the team back, and they were kind of winning in spite of him. The talent they had at receiver was bailing them out. I don't know. I thought Canales was good, but this game it's making that take look pretty bad. The Canales is obviously a complete disaster with the Panthers, lost by 37 points, put up 10. And the Bucs offense, they put up 37 points against Commanders defense was bad in this game, but they're expected to be respectable this year, especially with Dan Quinn coordinating the defense. Commanders defense not good. Bucs offense, really, really efficient game. Good for Baker. I'm a big Baker fan. I like Baker. I like the Bucs too. They've kind of always been my second favorite team, even before Brady was there. I'll never forget. It was 2016. They were playing the Cardinals. 2016 is kind of when I was kind of a fair weather football fan. I mainly just kept up with the Patriots prior to that, but 2016 is kind of when I started to really get into football. I was watching them. They got absolutely blown out by the Cardinals, and then they almost came back in that game, if I remember right. And I'm like, you know what? Something with this team. I kind of like them. And I'm like, they're going to be my second favorite team. And then a couple years flash forward, Tom Brady goes there. I'm like, what a coincidence. But I like the Bucs. They're still my second favorite team. Todd Bowles, pretty good defensive game. Commanders got a garbage time touchdown right at the end, so that kind of inflated the score there. Um, yeah, really, really efficient day. Nearly 400 yards of offense for the Bucs. Yeah, Commanders gonna get some more rushing here. Actually, 12 for 40 for Brian Robinson. That's pretty solid. Eckler only had 2 carries. He was their leading receiver, so that's if you're a leading receiver and Brian Robinson, so the two running backs are their leading receivers. That's kind of an issue. Especially if Cliff Kingsbury offense. That's Cliff Kingsbury gonna run his quarterbacks. They're mobile a lot, but you got to get more receivers involved. But overall, really good game for the Bucs. Commanders, not expected to be great, but a lot of question marks going forward. Two more games left. Here we go. This game, Lions and Rams. This game did not go as I expected. I was fairly confident the Lions going to win. They did, but they did not play a very, Lions-esque, 2023 Lions-esque at least game. They were, it's a defensive game, most of it, and the sorry, I'm getting a text. I'm looking at pretty defensive game. It was 3-3, and then the Lions ended up scoring a touchdown, and then the Rams they had that drive at the end of the first half there. Stafford, he missed the safety in the back of the end zone through a pick. And the Rams were really beat up in this game. They lost their lineman, they lost Puka, and they were down 17-3. Jameson Williams got open to start the third quarter. The Lions scored on that. They were down 17-3, and they scored the touchdown, and then they got a field goal, and then they got a touchdown to take the lead. And then Goff had a pass that was dropped, should have been picked. They had to punt, and then I'm like, the Lions going to lose this game, the way this game is going. And Stafford at a 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 6 throw. I think it was 3rd and 5. Absolutely insane throw. I'm like, yep, they're going to lose the game. The Lions. They end up forcing the punt. They got a field goal to send it to OT, and then they just steamrolled them with David Montgomery in overtime. Rams defense played really good in this game. I thought the Rams defense was going to struggle to start the year. They played a really, really good game, especially against a team like the Lions, an offensive powerhouse. What else about this game? Puka's on. Did they put him on? Did they put him on IR? I think they put him on IR. So obviously he's out at least 4 weeks. Hopefully he gets back. The Rams are beat up, which sucks to see. The Rams they're a fun team to watch. I like the way Sean McVay runs the offense. But yeah, Chris Shula did a really good job calling that defense. Lions, I think this is kind of a week one. They didn't play their best game and they still won. So I think they're going to be a legit team this year. Obviously, that's not very bold. Most people think that. But yeah, good for the line. That's what elite teams do. You don't play your best game, you find a way to win, even if it's an ugly fashion. Rams, that's a tough loss, but they'll be okay. They're a good team. Okay. Last game, a Monday night game, the Aaron Rodgers return game. As I talked about my picks video, this was not the ideal game to come back for Aaron Rodgers. Going against the 49ers defense, their vaunted defense and pass rush. It went as pretty much as I expected. The Niners got a lot more offense than I expected. I thought they were going to score around 20 to 24-ish. They scored 32. Especially with McCaffrey out, I figured they were going to have a kind of a not sluggish, but grinded out game offensively. Jordan Mason looked absolutely great. Let me see his stat line. He looked absolutely great in the game. Yeah, he almost had 150 yards. Oh my God, that was insane. Purdy, really efficient game. I like Purdy gets a lot of hate. I like Brock Purdy. I like Brock Purdy. I don't think again, people rank him anywhere from a top X quarterback in the league, top 5, top 10, to kind of the middle tier. I would say Purdy is. I don't know. I like Purdy. Think he's good. I don't think he's elite in the sense where if he was on a different team, say, I don't know, say the Jets, this year's Jets, that they'd be a top team in the league. I just think Shanahan's system helps Purdy a lot. But I think Purdy's still a really good quarterback, a respectable quarterback. I respect him. I didn't mean to get on that tangent there, but getting back to this game in general here, Jets defense played good to start the game, kept holding the Niners to field goals. The Jets, their second or their third drive, the first drive, there was a dropped pass by Lazard, would have given them a first, and then they had the fumble with Hall. So that was not a good way to start the year for their offense. In their third drive, they looked really good. They scored a touchdown. Rodgers had a couple of zingers in there to Garrett Wilson. He looked pretty good on that drive. And then their offense pretty much did nothing the rest of the game except that one touchdown drive where we got that Aaron Rodgers, the classic free play touchdown he got. Rodgers, obviously his first game back from the Achilles tear, it looked like his mobility, they said he's not limited, but even if he was, they're probably not going to say that, obviously. But it seemed like his mobility was limited. He had shorter dropbacks in the pocket, was moving around a lot less. Um, I'm not. It's probably going to take some time for him to get back into, classic Aaron Rodgers, you know, form. I guess is the best way to put it. Uh, Jets got a garbage time touchdown, so the score looks closer than it is. But the Niners pretty much after the first quarter pretty much dominated the game. Really good defensive performance for them. I thought their defense might take a pretty good step back this year. Um, but yeah, again, I don't want to base too much off the first week, but I think their defense played really well. Jets offense is not very good besides those two drives they got. And the Jets defense just got absolutely torched in the run game. Just not a very good showing for their defense. I thought their defense played a lot better than it did. But I accept the Niners to win. That's what they did, even with injuries. As I was talking about with the Lions, that's a sign of an elite. Well, the Lions didn't have injuries; they just kind of won in ugly fashion. But that's a sign of an elite team. You can win with injuries too. Um, anything else about Week 1? Went over all the games. Yeah, just pretty good Week 1. Mix of soyish football. Week 1 football team's going to be rusty. Obviously, that's natural. I saw a stat that the average passing yardage for quarterbacks is I forget the exact number. It's like the lowest in it was like 15 years or something. That was kind of an eye-raising stat. But pretty good first week. So happy. Where's my team? There we are. Really get happy my team won. Cannot wait for week 2. I think we could definitely upset the Seahawks, especially at home. I've rewatched I rewatch every game's highlights just in case I missed, things during red zone or they didn't show something. I just like to watch each game's highlights back for the things I missed, kind of go into it with a fresh set of mind, I guess. I usually that's how I better analyze games myself, I guess. Just watch them back again. But this game, I watched back the highlights. I watched film breakdown. I'm like, I'm pretty impressive win for us. So happy we won. Pretty good week 1 of football. Really happy football's back. I'm gonna try to do this video for every week, my, recap of the week picks every week. I'm gonna try for either Tuesday or Wednesday. No, I said I would try to get this video Tuesday, but I was just super slammed yesterday. You guys know how it works. We all get super busy in life. But yeah, pretty good week 1 of football. I think I went 2-3 in my fantasy weeks. A couple of my teams played so bad fantasy wise. Oh god, that was a rough one for me, some of them. But happy football is back. Yeah. Go football. So happy football is back. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and yeah, so happy football is back again. Go football. take it easy, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. And yeah, have a good one. Take it easy.